Good morning, Writing 394. This is Professor Anderson, and welcome to week 4. This is officially Hump Week, where we are halfway through the course. So by yesterday evening, you should have submitted your rough draft of the synthesis of literature based on your topic. And as I shared in this quick Prezi, just a brief overview of how all of the assignments work together. We're building towards this crescendo of writing assignment number 4. So at first we just looked at what kinds of inhibitors we'll look at our workspace and what kinds of communication barriers we have. We labeled them, we gave examples of them, and we gave the definition of why that label applied to that example. And then we selected one in the synthesis of literature review to review it with secondary research. What other kinds of information from scholarly journals or reference sources is out there that can be that supports that type of barrier. And then in writing assignment number 3, which is this week, you'll be writing a memo. Now, the memo is targeted at a specific decision maker. So here's how this works and what is required in the writing assignment number 3. So you are going to consider that barrier that you've selected and done your secondary research on. And then you're going to think of, and given that secondary research, come to an understanding of what a possible resolution to the barrier might be, or one way that you might be able to mitigate an element of that problem. So the reality is you've looked at a big picture situation and identified a single problem. And inside of that problem, now we're going to investigate a little further exactly how that problem is impacted out in the real world. So you're going to conduct what's called primary research. Now, primary research is that research that you initiate, that you developed, and that you pull the very specific information from. And I want to share with you, and I'm going to put up 2 screencasts today. One, this quick overview of writing assignment number 4, and 2, I'm going to share with you how to more feasibly or maybe more efficiently utilize your UMBC email, because you'll find that important for this particular writing assignment. So you're going to ask someone who can make the decision for you to further your research. So perhaps you're thinking of going paperless in your office. You can't just put out a memo and say, okay, starting on Monday, everyone, this is a paperless office and everyone must report in the cloud or on our cloud-driven platforms. You have to ask someone who is in the position of authority to make that decision, and that's part of the process and lesson learned in writing assignment number 3 is learning where the chain of command goes and to whom and for whom the questions must be asked with respect to decision making in any given environment. And then following the format or the template, if you're a government worker, which many of you are or have experience in government working, you know how important following the exact and specific formula is, especially in government positions, because the reality is that it's templated and it is easy to make certain that an individual flare doesn't throw off the kink. If you think about a business as a well-oiled machine with gears and belts driven by individual gears that drive other gears. If one little kink is off, that stops the whole production. And that's really the reason for templating information. So if we go through week 4, I don't have it in your view. I should do that. Here is the memo to a decision maker. And if we look underneath of here, this memo template, the PDF describing what writing assignment number 3 is, tells you specifically what the task is, and then gives you an example of this summary. So I want to share with you quickly, you need to maintain and keep these subheadings. you need to make certain that you're following very specifically this format and this formula. Your specific job function right now and your business might use a different template, but for the purposes of this course, think of us as a separate company. This is the template that we use, and this is the template that you will be scored on in the rubric. So just make certain that you follow that. And again, you'll know that you're going to give a brief summary of what the problem is. And again, 1 to 2 sentences. Why are you writing this memo? What is the problem and why it needs to be investigated? How is it impacting? You might want to draw on what you learned from writing assignment number 1. Why is this an issue? What secondary research have you already conducted? So this is where you're going to draw on writing assignment number 2 to just give a brief overview of what the secondary research says about the problem. And then here is the clincher. This is your input, what primary research you would like to conduct on the problem. And this is where you're going to elaborate, because writing assignment number 3 is about you asking permission to do this, to do the research, to interview your colleagues, to send out a questionnaire, to take pictures in the office, to do those types of things. And then why will the company or the organization or the office or the section benefit from your research? And so you want to give in 1 to 2 paragraphs, describe why this will be a benefit, and then write a quick conclusion. So that's writing assignment number 3. It's really asking permission. Don't forget that, and make certain that when you sum up your secondary research, that you're not using first person, because remember, that is somebody else's scholarly information that they've collected. That's someone else's conclusions. So that is week 4 in a nutshell. I am beginning right now as we speak, producing feedback for your writing assignment number 3. And my goal is to make certain that it is all finished by this evening. So I'll be doing it in 2 separate ways. I'm going to make screencasts, and then I am going to also upload typewritten on the sidebar, typewritten information. I work in a school district, and so I cannot publish to YouTube during the day. So hopefully I'll be able to do that this evening. But I work on these throughout the day when I don't have people bombarding my office. So that just gives you a little bit of a heads up of when you should expect your feedback. And then that way you will be able to use that feedback and submit your final draft of writing assignment number 3. I would recommend for your timeline, go ahead and submit it as early as possible, because you do have that next writing assignment due at the end of this week. So it's kind of like double whammy there for just a moment. So I hope that was helpful.